Okay, so we're back here. Let's continue working on this object. I'm going to move a little bit quicker along here. We're going to work on the front panel parts here. Basically, what I'm going to focus on in this video is some of this front detail, the disc tray, some of these little lines that break up the plastic and things like that. So let's actually go ahead and get that stuff done. Best way to do this is going to be to come in here in the front. I'm going to go to raycasting mode here for edges and start selecting some of these edges. You see the edges there that I have selected. I'm going to go to my context menu and I'm going to subdivide this evenly one time down the middle. I'm going to select those edges there that I just created. And what I'm going to do is come in here into the front view. We switch to global mode here and turn on COG. And I'm going to move this edge up here, basically following that edge that's in the image, that breaks up the image. And I can show you that a little bit better if I look at this. Here's a pretty good view. You can see that we have these lines that break up the plastic right here. And we have this area in here that's part of the object here where the floppy, I guess a floppy drive would go there, something like that. Then you have the CD or disc tray up here with some buttons and things. So to create those lines, that's why I'm creating this line here in the geometry to set that up. Okay, I'm going to need another line. So I'm going to go ahead and select those same edges that I need. Okay, so those edges in there. I'm going to subdivide that evenly. I'm going to take those new edges that I've created, bring this up to about maybe right there. And I could even probably just go ahead and create that geometry there. So let me go ahead and select these edges. Basically these on the top and these that go down here in the bottom. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bevel those by a very small amount. You can see in the image the small amount of bevel that I want to give this, something like this looks pretty good. So very thin kind of line. Now I'm going to go to polygon mode and I'm going to select all those polygons that make up that little beveled area that I created there. And I'm going to hit Control D to extrude, and I'm going to extrude and push these lines in, or these polygons in, to basically create these sort of separation lines right here. And it's a little bit hard to see when I render out because I just it's using default lighting. We don't have any advanced lighting here. Right there from that angle you can see it a little bit better. So you see we have these lines right here that make a huge difference when we model. Really makes the difference between something looking realistic and not looking realistic. Okay, so let me create these basically the detail for the CD tray here. Let me do this quickly. I'm going to select all of these edges here, including that one in the corner there. I'm going to go to subdivide evenly. This time I'm going to make two subdivisions or two sets of edges right there. I'm going to select both of them. Go back to my front view over here because it's just a little bit easier to work. Scale this up. Basically I'm just positioning this the way that it needs to be positioned. So something like this looks pretty good. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to take these edges on the end and these on this end. I'm going to go to subdivide evenly. And that coincidentally and luckily puts edges that are approximately on the same outline there of the image. Then I'm going to select all these polygons here, these new ones. So if I go over here to my camera view, you can see the polygons that I have selected. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and inset, go to my context menu, and I'm going to inset these polygons. Now I want to inset by a very small amount. Something like this looks pretty good. And then I'm going to go ahead and select these polygons that are basically outlining this area right here. So I should have kind of this ring of red polygons selected here around that. And I'm going to hit Control D and extrude and push these polygons in a bit to give this thing that detail. Let me render that out. And you can see here the detail we have. So it looks like it's a separate object that's just part of the object here. But it looks realistic. It looks more like the way that the object would look in real life. And that's very important because it really adds that detail that you need to achieve when working on something like this. Okay, so we're going to do something similar for this area down here where the little floppy drive area is. So let me get this going here. I'm going to select these edges that are in here. Basically same process. over and over again. Like I've said before in other videos, once you get a good technique, you can reuse that technique over and over to get the job done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split this evenly. I'm going to add an extra subdivision there. Select these edges. Move them up and scale them away from each other. Then I'm going to select these edges and these two edges right there. And I'm going to subdivide those evenly. Then I'm going to select those edges that are right there, and I'm going to use the scale tool. Make sure that global mode and COG are turned on. Just scale them in just a bit. Not too much. Actually, where they were originally is pretty good. That's going to work out. So I'm going to take those new polygons, and I'm going to go to Inset. I'm going to inset those polygons by a small amount, basically following along here a bit with the image to give me a good idea of how much to inset. Go ahead and select those polygons that kind of make the outline there of that little floppy drive area. Hit Control D to extrude and pull that in, and that should give you something like this. Okay, so it starts to get there. It starts to get to what we need. Okay, now we do have these details here of these headphone jacks and USB ports and things here in the front. We're going to be doing that, but we're not going to be focusing on that at the moment. We're going to skip that for now and come back to it later. If I go ahead and I bring up my reference image, you can see we have this kind of bluish little plastic panel thing just to give this thing some, I guess, for design visual purposes, this is built into it. This video has been running for a pretty good amount of time. Let me stop this video here, and in the next one we'll go ahead and create that little blue panel because it's going to take a little while to do that.